welcome back to A Book and a Beat, episode number 2, okay? And it's where I give you an amazing beat and an amazing book review. And if you don't already know, I'm Azalea, and this is Azalea's Bookshelf. Guys, welcome back to A Book and a Beat, episode number 2. I am so excited. Do you guys like my new setup though? Like, I got a new vanity, I got a new like ring light, like it's looking really good. I'm so excited. So today's Book and a Beat is gonna be about Travel North Black Girl. Love you. If you don't for the past 5 videos that I've made, I've talked about this book and I'm like, why don't you do a review? Like, won't that be your next review? And I am so excited. I am so excited. So it's called Travel North Black Girl by Olivia Hill. She is not a well-known author, but I found the story that I found this book is very funny. Somebody was reading it at my work and I asked them what they were reading and they told me about it. I loved the book. I loved like the blurb about it. And they were like, I would love to give it to you if you want to read it. And I was like, yes, I want to read it. Yes, I want to read it. So after they finished with it, they gave it to me. And then when I finished it, I was going to give it back to them because it's their book. They bought it. And they did not work at my job anymore. They were not working where I was working anymore. They had moved somewhere else. So I was like, but girl, your book. So I have the book now and I love it, obviously. And I just feel like I really need to talk about it because I talked about it in previous, like a little bit, but I really need to like delve into this book. So in the prologue, it actually reads, I wanted to clarify that this is a creative nonfiction. Although the stories are true, the names and some details has been changed to respect people's privacy. I have no intent to cause pain or harm to any individual in this book. I intend only to recount events that impacted my life as I recall them. This memoir is set up in the 60s up to the early 80s. References to indigenous groups or reflection on Black culture attempt to stay true to the time period and may not reflect my current viewpoint or what is politically correct today. So this book is from the 60s to the 80s, like you said. So it's like a creative nonfiction, but it's based on her life, if that makes sense. So I thought it was a very interesting genre to begin with. I was like, creative nonfiction, but it's based on your life. So it's just like very like, yes, I kind of like that. I kind of like that. And so she's a Black author. And that's another reason why I wanted to read it. Obviously, it says Travel North Black Girl. And I live in the North now. So like, I thought that was another reason why I wanted to read it. And yeah, so the makeup look though that I'm doing today is going to be a sunset makeup look, bringing it back a little bit. Because this book, like the cover, I was like, sometimes I do it based on the cover sometimes. But this one is like, it has a crow and it has like a mountain. I want to do something bright. So we're going to do the opposite of what this cover looks like. And we're going to do a sunset makeup look. And I'm going to have some questions that I'm going to be reading off my phone. That's why I keep looking down, if you're wondering. And we're just going to get right into it. We're going to do the eyebrows. We're going to do the eyes first. And then we're going to go into my base. And then we're going to get into this book. So first question is, which character do you like the most and why? And what character do I like the least and why? So I think obviously the character that I like, I need to get my mirror. Give me one. So obviously I think I like Olivia, obviously. I think I can relate to her in a lot of different ways. She grew up in Kansas City, which I think is cool because I live near Kansas City and Missouri. And I just think it's cool that I related to her in so many ways. The person that I did not, was my least favorite character probably was her husband. Her husband in this book is just like, ugh, like, I don't know, like, at first I was like, oh, he's so nice. We'll get into why I don't like him, but like, I was like, oh, he's so nice. Like, he is so thoughtful and he like cares for her. And regardless of what anybody says, he's, gonna be with her because he loves her, not because of anything else. But like, he just didn't give what it was supposed to give. Like, I don't even know how to explain him, to be honest. going on to question 2. What passage from the book stood out to you? I have a lot of them that stood out to me, but I'll read you guys one. Let me finish this brow. Okay, so oops. Let's see. I have a couple that are like sticky noted. Okay, so this part was crazy. So at this point in the book, they are in Arkansas. Right? Yes. They are in Alaska, not Arkansas. They're in Alaska right now. And they moved there because Seth, which is the name of her husband that she uses in the book, had like a teaching job. So she was like, okay, I'll get up and I'll move from Kansas City, Missouri over to Alaska. And so she just kind of has to stay at home at this point. She kind of has to, she doesn't really do much. Like, he's a teacher, so she just kind of like stays home and she like goes picks the berries, or like and a lot of indigenous people live there, and so they're very like, you know, they want to keep their culture within them, you know. And so she felt like an outsider a lot of the time. It's in the 60s and the 80s, so racism is also very high at this point in time. So she kind of felt like an outsider, and so she so this part of the book was pretty crazy. So on the floor by Seth's side of the bed was an opened letter, clearly read. It laid unfolded on top of the envelope. I saw the letter was from Arunabin, which is where Seth is from. I sat down on the edge of the bed and began skimming through the first half of the letter. I thought I knew what it would say. Hi, Seth. How is it out there in the bush? Did you land in a beautiful place? How big is the village? What are the other teachers you work with like? And the kids? Do you have a large class to teach? What's the pay? The district, do they have money so you're not spending half your pay on supplies this time? How's the weather? And it read mostly the way I thought until it didn't. So how's married life? I got your letter the other day, and that's a lot of debt. What are you going to do? It probably wasn't a good idea to get married yet until you had money to put away and could afford it. You should have been putting money away for a house or some kind of investment. I have to ask, do you really love this girl? She's not your type. Have you thought that maybe it's because you spent too much time in the Peace Corps and around too many of those brown people? What? It's possible you became used to that life, but that's not your life. I'm not saying that she's not a nice girl, but she doesn't know anything. She's ignorant, uneducated, and not like us. So are you going to be stuck taking care of her for the rest of your life? She can't even contribute. That place, her grandmother's house we stayed at, was scary. You didn't grow up like that. Listen, your dad is disowning you because of this. Everybody is concerned about your choice. You made a mistake, but it's not too late to get out of this. Your dad is upset, but he'll still help you. She's using you as a ticket out of the ghetto, and I get it, but you have to think about your own life, future, and career. Don't throw it all away because of a misstep. Hey, send some pictures. Your wildlife must be amazing. And so that was a little excerpt of a letter that my cat is running everywhere, of Seth's friend, like, you know, asking him, like, is he sure he wants to do this, all of these things. And so that part of the book was like, that stood out to me because the way that they talk about Seth in the book and how how Olivia describes him as a very kind, loving, you know, understanding man. He's a white man, he's Jewish. And remind you, this is in the 60s, during the 60s and through the 80s and stuff like that. So, you know, racism is very prevalent. You know, they didn't hide it, okay? And so it was just very interesting. It stood out to me because I really didn't expect that to come from his friends. Like, I know that, you know, when you do things that your culture doesn't like or disapproves of, you know, you're gonna get backlash, obviously. But the way that he just says that she's uneducated, she's dirty, she's like a horrible person, like, you know, she has nothing to contribute, like, basically she's useless, and like, why are you with her, basically. And so that really stood out to me because it's just like, dang, that's how they really thought of us. Like, that's how people thought of Black women or just Black people in general. and how he could just do so much better with his life and all these things. And it's just like, wait, what? He chose to come here. He chose to get married. Like, nobody's like, nobody pressured him to do anything, you know? He's a grown man. And so that really stood out to me and kind of like hurt my feelings. Like it hurt my feelings, and it wasn't even about me. And you can see how that changes Olivia and how she views the world and stuff like that. And it kind of like put me off. And how like Seth didn't say anything. Like we don't know if he wrote back or said anything to make us believe that he did write back and told him, his friend, hey, don't talk about my wife like that. And so that really stuck out to me, and I was just like, wow, like that was a really mean letter. And like the way that he tried to hide it in the other stuff, saying, oh, like he actually cared. Like, you know, he was like, oh, how's the weather? How's the teaching going? How's this? How's that? And then he's like, in the middle of the letter, he's like, yeah, so why the hell you're with your wife? She's ugly and, you know, black. And like, what? It was just so random and so like, wait, what? I literally had to reread that part multiple times to like really understand what was going on, like really. And so that part really stood out to me, and I was just like, wow, like that's really what it was like if you're dating outside your race. And it kind of gives you an insight into like interracial relationships during the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. Like, people were not playing with you. Like, his dad disowned him because he was married to a black woman. Like, that's crazy to me. The next question is 3. Are there situations and or characters you can identify with? If so, how? So obviously I can identify a lot with Olivia, being in an interracial relationship. I'm in an interracial relationship, the backlash of that, and also as a black woman feeling like an outsider. I feel like that's even prevalent nowadays. Obviously not as bad as she got it, but it still was kind of like, I can relate to Olivia in a lot of ways. Like, sometimes I relate to Olivia in a lot of ways, and that's why I think I like this book so much. And she kind of goes on her own because nobody wants to hang out with her, nobody wants to talk to her, nobody in the community of Alaska, they want to speak to her because she's different. And I just felt that such on a core level of like, yes, you can do everything you possibly can to be an equal, but still black women and black people will always be looked at as unequal, as not enough. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you do. And then just not even black people in general, but just black women. Like, no matter what you do, somebody is always going to have something to say, something to complain about, something to be like, oh, well, I don't think that you should do that. Like, I don't think you should act like that. I don't think you should dress like that. I don't think you should talk like that. And it really just shines the light on how it was back in the 80s and how it hasn't really changed. And it kind of made me sad to like realize that it hasn't really changed. Like, obviously people are not going to be, you know, more people are open to it now, like to black women, and you know, letting us be who we are regardless of. And honestly, I think we've also grown to like not care as much as we did like back in the 60s and the 70s or whatever. But it still hurts like when people look at you different, because you are different and you can't change that. Over something that you can't change, people are looking at you weird for. And I just feel like black women, we really get the short end of the stick. No matter where we are in the world, we always are getting the short end of the stick, and it sucks. And it really, really sucks. And so I really felt Olivia in that moment. I really felt connected to her in the author and her story. I just felt like, wow, like this runs deeper than we think it does. It runs so much deeper than, you know, just, oh, well, my mom faced it. No, like our grandmothers. Like, Olivia's like in her 60s and 70s now. And it's just like, wow, like they really face these things. And for us to still be going through those same things is really, it's really sad, and it's really disheartening. And it makes you just want to just kind of be a recluse sometimes. It makes you want to just be like, you know what? If nobody wants me around, then I don't want to be around, like, type thing. And it sucks. It sucks for everyone that comes in contact with that. And so I really felt for Olivia. I really felt her pain. And, you know, you love somebody and you try to love them the best that you possibly can. And their parent or friend is saying, are you sure that's what you want to do? Are you sure? And it's just kind of like, wow, like, it feels kind of like a slap in the face. And so I relate with Olivia in many ways, including that one. And I think that's what it kept me, like, reading the book. I was just like, wow, like, it's so relatable. Like, for Black women, it's so extremely relatable. And I don't know how good this is turning out. I'm gonna keep going, though. So, the next question is, did you learn something you didn't know before? Yeah, I learned a lot about Alaska in this book. Like, they were talking about Alaska and how it works and stuff like that, and how back in the 1670s, there were a lot of different tribes that lived there, and people that kept to very much, like, olden ways. Like, they would collect berries, and they had, like, community meetings and stuff like that. And I thought that was very cool. Like, she really delves deep into the Alaska life and how it was. Obviously, she didn't have the most, like, amazing experience, but she did talk about how she would literally get lost in the forest because she would just forage for berries, and the people in the town would get mad and be like, that's not for you. Like, that's not your way of life. Like, that's our way of life. And she would literally get lost for hours just foraging for berries and foraging for, like, fruits, different types of fruits and stuff. And I thought it was just so cute. Because even though, like, I feel like that's Black women in general, like, even though something is not going our way, or, you know, people are not accepting us for who we are and stuff like that, we still somehow find the beauty in it. We still find the beauty in it. Like, in the book, she talks about just the beauty of Alaska and how it's so pretty and all of these things. Somehow, even when we're in the gutter, when, you know, nobody wants to talk to us and hang out with us, we are still trying to find the beauty in things. And I think that's really powerful. And it taught me a lot about Alaska and how it looks, and I kind of want to visit Alaska now. And I don't know, it's a very interesting, very, very interesting, to say the least. So she just taught us a lot about that in the book, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed reading it. The next one was, do you feel as though your views on a subject have changed by reading this text? My views on a subject. I think my views on Alaska in general, I think when we hear about Alaska, we're like, oh, it's cold, no thanks. But she really shined the light on Alaska and how it helped her gain so much mental clarity on what she wanted to do in the world, and how she wanted the world to impact her, and how she wanted to impact the world. And I think we have this false narrative sometimes of things that we are scared to do, and we're like, oh no, I'm not doing that, because, like, no, like, it's I don't know, we just assume things from what we've heard from other people rather than going to experience it ourselves, and that can kind of dull the way that we view the world and the way that we go and experience things. And I feel like I now will probably go visit Alaska, because it's just like, dang, she really enjoyed it, even though she was going through all of those hardships, even though she was going through all of those things. I'm gonna blend this out a little bit. It's giving sunset, but it's giving blended sunset. But we gonna make it work. We gonna make it work. And so my views just on traveling in general changed as I read this. I was just like, I'm not gonna let people tell me, you know, how I should experience something, or, you know, I shouldn't experience it because they didn't like it. It's like, no, I'm gonna experience it regardless, because, you know, what may be not for you may be for me, you know what I mean? And just being like, oh, okay, a lot of people said that they didn't like Alaska, or they don't like Alaska because it's cold or whatever. Doesn't mean that I shouldn't go to Alaska, or I shouldn't go wherever because other people didn't like it. It was like, I'm not other people, and other people aren't me, and they don't like the things that I like, and I don't like the things that they like. So I think they changed my view on travel in general, and yeah, I can really appreciate that, honestly, and I probably will visit Alaska sometime now. So the next question was, have you had a life-changing revelation from reading this text? I feel like I have. Low key, in the lowest of keys, I feel like I really have, and I feel like it just kind of solidified all of the things that Black women go through, and that at the end of the book, she still kept going. She still, didn't let those things be like, okay, well, I'm just not going to do this anymore. She still wrote her book. Is it the most popular book in the whole wide world? No, it's not. But she wrote her book. She told her story. She made her mark. And I feel like as Black women, we discredit ourselves so much to the point where, like, okay, well, I'm just not going to even do it because nobody's going to care. And it's just like, don't do it for other people. Do it for us. Do it for yourself. And I feel like that really kind of, like, changed my view on a lot of things. And it's just like, I've heard a quote before. It's not from that book, but just in general, like, don't, like, tell yourself no before other people can tell you no. Like, at least apply for that thing, or, go to that thing or whatever. At least do that, before other people can tell you no. Like, apply for it. Do it. Don't tell yourself no before other people tell you no. And because a lot of the times with Black women and just people in general, we tell ourselves no before we can even allow other people to tell us. And then when we actually apply for that thing and they tell us yes, we're like, wait, what? I thought you were going to tell me no. And it's just like, no, you are more qualified and more capable than you think that you are. And I think some people need to hear that out loud, and like Black women especially need to hear that out loud, because it's just like, we always say, nah, I can't do that, or nah, that's not for me, before we even give it a try. And we'll be so surprised on the outcome of it if we just let ourselves, have that moment. Like, we count ourselves out before anybody can even count us in. And it sucks because people count us out all the time. So you can't be those people, that person who counts yourself out too. And so I think it did give me a really big revelation on traveling and being a Black woman in general, and how to navigate that world. No two stories look alike, and that should be a good thing. The next question is, what major emotion did the story evoke in you as a reader? I think it evoked a lot of self-reflection. That's not an emotion, but a lot of, like, a little bit of sadness, a little bit of laughing, a little bit of everything emotion. I feel like a little bit of shock, a little bit of like, wow, a little bit of everything, honestly. Like, mainly just like self-reflection. Like, that book really made me want to self-reflect. It made me want to, like, really sit down and figure out, like, what I want to do and why I want to do it. And really, oh, look at my kitty. I don't know if you guys can see him. He's in the window. But really just do some self-reflection on what I want and how am I going to get there? Like, am I going to let the obstacles, like, continue to get in my way and just say, oh, no, F it? Or am I going to actually pursue what I want and do it regardless of what people say or how people feel? So that's what emotion evoked in me. At what point in the book did you decide if you liked it or not? What helped you make this decision? I think my nose is running. Always the worst. When did I decide that I liked this book? That's such a good question. I'm gonna brighten up this under eye. Let me think about that question while I brighten up this under eye a little bit. Let me use this word beauty. Beauty. I think when they actually like started heading to Alaska, I think that's when I realized I liked the book. I don't know, it just made me happy that she was leaving where she was coming from and diving into something new and unknown. And I was like, oh yeah, I like that. I'm gonna like this book. And also just her witty comments in general. Just the things, the topics that she talks about. She talks about when she worked at a restaurant and all the crazy things that happened at the restaurant. And it's just so funny and it's so real and honest. And just, I don't know, it's just, I think in general, I like the book. Like throughout the whole book, I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna like this. But I think the main part is probably when they started heading to Alaska. I was like, yeah, this is going to be a good book. So now I'm just blending that concealer out. And then I'm about to be done. So I'm gonna come to you guys with my final review and the final look. Okay, so I'm back and this is the final look. Isn't it so pretty? At first it was looking kind of questionable, but I think I got it blended out and it looks pretty sunsetty to me, so that's how the makeup looks. And now the final review. All in all, I love this book. I probably will reread multiple times throughout my life, and I give this a 5 out of 5. I am obsessed with this book. I hope so many people read this book. I hope it gets popular, and yes, I would read this book again. I would reread it so many times. I would recommend this to a friend. I would recommend this to multiple friends. That's how much I love this book. And so that is all I have for you today on the second episode of A Book and a Beat, where I do book reviews and I beat my face. And I hope you guys really enjoyed this video, because I enjoyed doing it and I enjoyed this makeup look, because I'm probably making some TikToks, and yeah, because this ate, I'm sorry. And so yeah, I'll see you guys on my next episode of A Book and a Beat, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.